everybody, and welcome back to Moderno Tropicano. And thanks for tuning in at Planet Build. In today's video, we will be working on the Savannah habitat in front of the restaurant that we built in the last video. We will also be working on the centerpiece, and this will also be the video where the park will receive 6 additional animals. So we're first going to start with the Savannah habitat. And once the Savannah habitat is finished, we're going to create the centerpiece. And the centerpiece needs some small introduction because I said we're probably going to make a Tree of Life inspired centerpiece, but I ended up making something totally different. But we'll come to that later. But for now it's time to work on the Savannah habitat, and I'm first placing the borders and making the animal house, the animal shelter. And I don't want it to be bigger than the restaurant, but I want it to look somewhat similar than the things I used, the items I used in the restaurant. And I'm doing that just to make it blend in with the restaurant and the surroundings. It also has to be large enough to fit 3 types of animals: the blue wildebeest, the African buffalo, and the giraffe. And it also has to be high enough for the giraffes to enter the shelter. And when it comes to adding animals to a habitat, I usually pause my video just to make sure that the animals I'm going to add in any habitat, the habitat is good enough for those animals to be in. So I usually check if there are no escape points for the animals and if there's enough space for the animals and stuff like that. But that's not something I'm putting in my video because that sometimes takes quite a long time just to adjust or to make sure it does fit the requirements of those animals. And funny about that is when this habitat was finished and I added those animals, it was mostly the African buffalo who was just jumping out of the habitat, although the filters in the game said there were no escape points. But in the end, they were just jumping on the rocks and then used the rocks to climb out of the habitat. So in the end, I ended up just replacing those rocks by smaller rocks or adjusting them a little bit forward or backward. So for this part of the animal shelter, I'm going to add some windows. I think those windows will add some more experiences for the guests. At the moment they're lunching at the terrace, the outside terrace. They can actually see inside the shelter. So as I mentioned before in my other videos, I am more of a builder when it comes to foliage and trees and rocks and stuff like that. And so what I usually do with my buildings is I flatten the roof with mostly the same type of walls I use, and then to cover up the roof I'm going to use some other items, the same over here as that I used for the restaurant. And I'm doing that just to make it not look like a box and to put in some more detail. So as you can see, I just added those animals after I checked if the habitat does meet the requirements for those animals and that there are no escape points. So once that is finished, it is time to add everything in the habitat, the trees, the foliage, the items that the animals require. Everything for feeding and drinking and stuff like that. So the only thing left now is to just cover up the edges of this area for any future expansion, and there will be any future expansion in this area. I'm probably going to remove those trees again, but for now I think it's better to just block off the view for the guests. So once this area is finished, it is time to start working on the centerpiece. And I named it a couple of times, but I wanted a centerpiece inspired by the Tree of Life at Disney's Animal Kingdom. For people who don't know what the Tree of Life in Animal Kingdom is, it is a large scale tree with a lot of animals carved into the roots of the tree. But the moment I was experimenting on which items and pieces I should use to duplicate this Tree of Life, I couldn't find the right pieces to make it look that fabulous and highly detailed as I wanted. So what I did over here is I maybe cheated a little bit, but before I started sharing my builds with you guys on YouTube, I played about 500 hours on my laptop, and in those 500 hours I created a lot of parks, did a lot of scenarios, and there was this one park which was highly detailed but with way too many items in it, way too many pieces. And I think it was last week when I opened that park again, and I'm now running Planet Zoo on a PC. And once I opened that park, I saw a lot of items which I would be able to use in this park, and that gave me the idea of creating this centerpiece. So I made some blueprints of the pieces that were in that park, and I'm going to use them in this park. And as you can see, I've put in the waterfall that was in the other park, and I've also put in some futuristic spheres that I also used in that park, and I used them in the other park for a deep jungle theme, and I'm going to use them here for the centerpiece. And I'm also going to add two habitats to this centerpiece, one in the front and one in the back. We will be working on the front habitat in this video. In the next video, we will be working on the backside habitat. And for the front habitat, I will be adding the Bornean Orangutan, the white-hand gibbon, and some otters. And the second habitat in the back will be for some sea lions. And as you can see, I put in a stand, and it's the same stand I used in the park I built earlier, so I also made a blueprint of that stand. But that will be something for the next video. First, it's time to start working on the habitat in front of the centerpiece. And as you can see over here, I already added some orangutans, and I did that for the same reason I did at the Savannah habitat, is just to check if the habitat does meet the requirements of the animals I'm going to put in, and to check if there are no escape points for the animals. As you can see, I'm putting in some more detail to the waterfall. It wasn't that highly detailed in my last park. As I said, I couldn't fit any more pieces in that park because my laptop wasn't running that park anymore. So for the spears that I've added to this waterfall, I wanted the monkeys to actually get up there and get in those spheres. So I was struggling a lot, and I did not capture that for you guys, but I was struggling a lot with the climbing items for the monkeys. It's quite hard to get everything connected and actually get the monkeys up there. So I did that off video, but in the end it turned out quite good, and they can actually get in those spheres and on those rocks and on those trees. As you can see here, this is the backside of the waterfall. This will be the area which will be completed in the next video. So there's still no detail on that side of the waterfall. So there maybe will be some small adjustments to the borders of the habitat. And the only thing left that I wanted in this habitat is I wanted to add these rails for the gibbons, and they can actually go underneath the waterfall and end up in the other section of their habitat. And I think that adds some more detail to this habitat and some more fun for those white-handed gibbons. And that will be all for today's video. In the next video, we will be working on the sea lion habitat behind the centerpiece. But for now, I want to thank each of you for watching. Hit the like and subscribe button if you like my video and if you want to stay updated with any upcoming videos. And as usual, I added some highlights for you guys to enjoy the things we built today. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.